Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Secretary Cardona, for being here. It is wonderful to see you here today. Connecticut is so proud of your leadership, and as your representative, I can tell you it is a breath of fresh air to sit through this hearing and listen to an actual practitioner talk education policy. It is a welcome change. And I don't have to tell you how proud the folks back in Meriden are, and all of the teachers in Connecticut and the parents are to have you here. You inspire us and instill so much confidence. Before I begin my questioning, I do just want to take a moment to say that we're hearing a lot of comments about the sense of fatigue, about any discussions surrounding race and the teaching of race. I'll just say, first of all, Secretary, I am just, your answers to that issue is why you're a teacher. But for those people who are sick of hearing it or talking about it or are fatigued by conversations surrounding race, imagine just for a second the people who are living through it every day. I'm a history teacher. I had to teach about the most painful parts of our history. I had to teach slavery to my students. If I were in the class today, I'd have to teach them about the January 6th insurrection. So there are some things in our history that we just have to face head on. But the role of teachers is to give kids critical thinking skills, not tell them how to feel about certain events. So again, Mr. Secretary, I just admire you, and your leadership is just a demonstration of true educators and what we are, who we are and what we do. I could talk for days about education, but I want to focus my questions around IDEA while I have you here. This past year has been devastating for educators and for special education students in that population and those families. When Congress passed IDEA, they promised to cover 40% of the costs of special education. In other words, they would pay for nearly half of the additional costs required to educate students with disabilities. Unfortunately, Congress has never fulfilled that promise. The number of students with disabilities served under IDEA has increased by 25%. And as you stated, the federal government, even with the increases proposed, it would only bring us to about 16%. So I know you already described what the plan would do. I have two questions. I'll just ask them right now so I can yield the rest of my time to you. Under your leadership, will you commit to continuing these types of investments in IDEA and being intentional and aggressive about helping us to try to reach that 40% threshold? And then my second question is something I know you care deeply about because I've worked on several committees and task force with you on this issue, diversifying the educator pipeline and infusing the pipeline. I introduced the Save Education Jobs Act, the Diversify Act, the Teacher Diversity and Retention Act to build on some of the work we did back in Connecticut. Can you talk a little bit about how this budget will improve teacher partnerships, infuse the pipeline, and make sure that we have the best people standing in front of our kids who are adequately prepared?
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Hayes. It's nice to see you, and I appreciated your comment as from the perspective of a history teacher. You said it best, and that's why I feel like I trust my educators. They know what they're doing. They know children. They went to school for this. They're professionals. We can get it right. We will get it right, and we will be stronger as a country as a result of that. And you're absolutely right about special education. You know, we're hoping to get to 15% of the 40% that was promised, right? Exactly. So yes, to answer your question, yes, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to make sure that we continue to push for the students with disabilities and getting the support that they need, especially post-pandemic. I don't have to tell you the impacts on students with disabilities, how profound it was, and how for some students opening up a laptop and being in front of it for a long time, they can get some. But for students with disabilities, it doesn't really cut it. So we need to do more. And this commitment here is hopefully going to translate into better support for our students with disabilities. So yes on that, definitely. We want to see that happening more. And then teacher diversification, you know, your leadership and when you were an educator in Waterbury really moved the needle to make sure that our professional teaching staff reflect the beautiful diversity of our communities. And, you know, there's, I think the data is like half of the students across the country identify themselves as people of color, yet only 20% of our educators do. We need to do more. So there's $100 million to make sure that we're getting this right, that we're investing in programs that diversify the ranks. I love the Grow Your Own programs, programs that you were a part of. to make sure that our students see themselves as teachers, like me when that teacher tapped on my shoulder and said, hey, would you consider? We need to do more of that. We need to have programs there. We also have to be creative and innovative about how we recruit people of color into the profession. So yes, I'm very big on that. All students benefit when we do it right. There's funding here for that. There's a desire there, and there's partners like you that are going to make sure that we get it done right.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I'm so proud of you. And with that, I yield back, Mr. Chair.